Hey, how y'all doing out there in YouTube land? This Stiletto coming at you from the Wild Wild West. I got Juno coming in to join us. Here's my co-host. Well, on this part, this is part 2 of part 1 of the AD20S model getting polished. My eBay one that I purchased off of eBay. We're getting ready to polish the blade. Start polishing it. Alright, sweetie, you gotta get off the table today. For this one. Come on down, kiddo. That's my girl. And we're gonna start off because this blade's in pretty good shape. So it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be a lot worse than it is. It's not really bad at all. It's just got some minor, it's just from normal use type stuff. You know, it just can't be said that it's brand new and without scars or whatever. But that's got, just little normal scratches on it. That's no big deal. So we're going to start off with 1000 grit. 1000 grit wet sanding paper. And I always like to use something that's perfectly flat. And so we're using a piece of glass right here to sand on. Normally I use a big piece of marble, but it's too big for right here, so I got this from Home Depot today because I just needed something that would fit on this table. And I thought this glass might work. Let's see how it works. So I always like to get my paper wet. See if I get to lay flat. There it goes. All right. You just start. It's nothing. There's nothing really, special about it. It's just you just got to do it. The blade feels sharp. Okay. Now I like to go, in the grain, just go in one direction, especially for something like this. This one's not, it's not in bad shape at all. I thought it was going to be in bad shape, people. It's actually in pretty good shape. I think it's a good deal for 315 bucks. All we got to do is take off the stone wash, basically. And that's pretty easy to do. You can see it's starting to come off already. And when I do this, I don't put hardly any pressure at all. So you're not trying to put any deep scratches in it or anything. You're just removing the top finish. Well, this is going to be the first polished Demko AD20S for me. I want to put a really nice polish on this one too. And this is the first part of the polishing. Oh yeah, it's getting polished already. First I was going to start with like a 6 or 800, but it doesn't need that. I just need it because the higher grits, like when you go like to 1500, you get into more like the polishing grits. You're not really. It's hard to take out the scratches, so you want to go up like grit by grit by grit. If you got like a fairly bad scratches in it, I would start maybe at 400, 400 or 320. Go up, and then you go from 320 to 400, from 400 to 600, from 600 to 800, from 800 to 1,000, and then you go from 1,000 to 1,500 if you have 1,500. That's how you get the best polishes if you go up in increments, because you take out you make the scratches finer and finer and finer to the point where it's like a mirror finish. You don't want to skip and go from like 1,000 to 2,000, or from 400 to 800. You want to do all the different grits. At least that's the way I do it. I'm letting you know how I do it. You guys can do it the way you want to do it. I always found I get the best results by go step by step. It takes a lot of work. It's patience. It takes a lot of patience. Nothing's instant. Not the way I do it. You can do these things by machine with Dremel tools and with special, what do you call them? Buffing wheels on them, for different grits or whatever. You can do it like that. That's another way to do it. But I think doing it like this on a flat surface, because I want to keep the blade perfectly flat. I don't want it to have little valleys in the blade or whatever. I want it to be perfectly flat like it was from the factory. And lots of times when you do this, you'll find out that your blade isn't perfectly flat. Because polishing will reveal stuff that is covered up with a bead blast or a stone wash or an acid etch or something like that. Those type of things hide a lot of the flaws in the blade or in the steel, in the finish of the steel. When something's polished, you see how it is. You can see everything. I've never polished D2 before. I think this is the first D2 blade I've ever polished. If I'm not mistaken, I think this is like the Austrian D2, because that's the D2 that Demko Knives had for their AD20.5s. I know it's D2, but I'm not sure, if it's German D2 or Austrian D2 or what have you. I think it's the K110 probably. Same thing that they probably use on the AD20.5s. That's my guess. I don't know for sure. It could be a different D2 that they have in that they have in Wampum, PA. Because the A20S and the A20 are the American-made ones. They're the ones that Andrew and John Demko make in Wampum, PA. So I don't know if they use the same D2 as the D2 that's used in the factory in Taiwan. That's what I'm saying. Okay, now for the blade, because it's at a different angle and part of it like starts to go, narrows down towards the tip. I use a little bit different technique for that. I like to go by hand, and I just do it by hand. That's the best way I can explain it. Need a little bit of water. Now I'm gonna need to put a little bit of water in here now. All right. All right. And the scratches on this blade go up and down. They're vertical scratches. It's like they cut through some poor cardboard that, probably had a lot of dirt or something in it. Because a lot of people don't know that what makes cardboard hard on blades is that part of cardboard is dirt. It's soil. It's like wood and soil or something like that. It's composition. So cardboard is like really pretty, it's pretty tough on blades. Because you're not just cutting through like paper or wood. You're cutting through dirt. It's sand. I think it's sand. It might be sand that you use in cardboard to make cardboard. Oh yeah. This is just a tedious thing the way I do it, people. There's nothing fancy about it. It just takes a lot of time. I don't do things with machines. And most of the blades that you've seen that I've polished took me a long time to polish. Like more than one polishing before you saw it. It's probably like, I don't know, maybe a week's worth of polishing. Because you know, I do things when I get off work and I have some spare time. I'm not doing anything. This kind of thing, you know, you grab a beer and put on something on the TV that you like. And just take your time and do it. You don't want to rush it. At least I don't. Because there's a lot of faster ways to do things. But my whole goal is to remove as little material as possible. I'm not trying to remove a whole lot of material. I'm not trying to reshape anything or anything like that. I'm just trying to take off trying to make the finish shiny. That's my goal. I'm putting a little bit more pressure on this side because this side is the side, what would you call it, the clip side? Is the side that had the scratches on the blade. Yeah, I can still see them just a little bit. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, let me see what kind of other paper I have here. I'm going to go back to the 1000 grit. Let's see if we can get it. I'm trying to get these scratches, people. So once I get the scratches out, then it's all downhill from there. Now, I don't think it should take too much to get them out. I don't want to go lower. This grit right here was a 1500 grit, and so I went back down to 1000. I may go to 800 if I can't get if I have to go that low. I think I should be able to take them out though. Need some more water. Now I'm putting pressure on the edge so I can concentrate on the area where it got scratched. It didn't get scratched on the flat. Let's see how. One thing about D2 I'm noticing, it polishes slower. I think it's probably because of the steel composition. It's probably a harder steel. I don't know what these are tempered to. The easiest thing to polish that I've found is Oz 8. Oz 8 polish is real easy. CTS XHP polish is hard to polish, and so is 3V. That's another one that's hard to polish. Okay, there you go. Starting to get them out now. So maybe I won't have to go any lower. And that's all polishing is making finer and finer scratches. That's the best way I can explain it. I learned how to do this from whenever I had an accident on a motorcycle or something. I'd scrape a bunch of parts. I didn't have a bunch of money. I'd always refurbish my parts and use them as much as I could. But I didn't like stuff looking like it was wrecked, so I'd refinish it. I always say whatever I could. All right, people. I'm just going to continue doing this. There's no need to really make another, go any further. You guys can see what I'm doing. Let's see if we can get this side going a little bit more. Need some water. It's also good to do this underneath the faucet if you can, so you constantly remove the old sand from the wet sandpaper. See a couple scratches. This one has a scratch right here. I'm gonna work on it right here. I can see it now. I didn't see it before. This blade is gonna look really nice, people. I think it's gonna be beautiful. But it is D2, so I will have to worry about it rusting. But D2 is like a semi-stainless steel, so unless it gets wet and you let it, sit around and dry wet and moisture and stuff, it does pretty well. I've never had a D2 blade rust on me. But then again, I don't live in an area that has a lot of moisture and stuff in the air or anything. Okay, let's see if we can do this side now. Is that flat? I'm going to keep it square. That's the reason why I like to use something that's perfectly flat. So then I can keep it square. I'm not rounding anything off. I'm not making anything different than it already was. Oh yeah. Okay. That's all this part is, people. Let's do a little work on the other part. See how much time I got left. If I got any time left? I might be getting low on time here. I'm going to do the outer edges of these. I'm not going to do the inner parts of them because I don't want to change the size of anything. I want to keep everything its original dimensions or width or whatever and fitment. I just want to polish the exposed parts of the stainless steel liner. Keep it square. I'm not trying to round it off or anything. I just want to make the top, make it shine and look finished. I'm not going to do the shark's fin at all. I'm going to leave the shark's fin the way it was. I don't want to mess with that at all. This knife locks up perfectly fine, so I don't want to do anything that might change the way it locks up. We're just doing cosmetic stuff. See, it's getting shiny already. That's how stainless steel is. It shines fairly quickly. Whereas I noticed like the D2 is taking a little bit more effort. But then D2 takes more effort to sharpen too, so makes sense. I know CTS XHP is hard to polish too, because I did the Frenzy, and that was like, it looks really nice right now, but it took me several polishings to do that, to get to where it's at. It was a lot of work. Oh yeah, that's polishing up real quick. Let me see. This is another exposed part right here. Now this I'm just doing very lightly because I know it says polishing really quick. So it's probably like a 420 series stainless steel, that's my guess. Because that's what's often used for like liners, is like 420, Japanese 420 stainless steel. Or 420 HC sometimes. A lot of people use HC for like actual steel blades and steel, but not that many people still use 420 J, was Japanese 420 steel, as blades anymore, unless it's like a diver's knife or something, because it's real rust resistant. But it's often used for liners in the knife industry. A lot of times when things are stainless steel liners, they're like they call it a 400 series stainless steel, and usually it's 420J, at least with cold steel. I should say for cold steel, they always use 420J. They use 420J in the Sanmai too. The outer layers of the Sanmai, the VG10, the Sanmai part, that's 420J. This 420J is really tough and it's really rust resistant. But it will scratch pretty easily though, because it's not like a super hard stainless steel. But it is really tough. But it doesn't hold the edge good though. That's the flaw, that's the downside with it. But it makes good diver's knives and things like that, but it doesn't hold the edge. And back in the day, it was pretty common if you had a stainless steel knife, unless you had like a case or something, or charade or something like that, when they were always American made, that if you had a stainless steel knife, most likely it was made with 420J. Because a lot of the inexpensive knives back in the day, they didn't come from China, they came from Japan. Then Japan started making things better and coming out with better steels. But at first, they used to make crappy steels. I shouldn't say crappy steels, but I remember like their cars back in the day, they would rust out real fast. Yeah, that's looking good already. Let me go to this one. I'm trying to watch the clock there too. I don't want to be talking to myself. I know this clock's going to go out here in a minute. The next one we'll do the buffing. We'll do the buffing on the next one. You're seeing how I do the sanding, and I'm going to go up in grit with other sandpapers. Let me see the other ones I have over here. This one's 1500, 2000, and I'm going to go up to 3000 grit. These came from Home Depot, but you know where I got stuff at. And then when we get into buffing, I got some new buffing pads. The buffing compound comes with the buffing compound too. I also like to use mothers. A lot of the stuff I use will be like my old stuff. Because I like to use the old stuff first, and then I finish off with the nice clean pads. That's the way I sort of like to do it. And then after it's all done, be the work sharps time. Get tongue tied. Work sharps time. Do the blade. All right, people. I'm gonna cut it off right here. The next one will be buffing with the buffer. And my buffer is nothing special. I just use a handheld drill and buff. So everything's really done by hand. Old buffing pads. That's the way I like to buff things though. So that's what we'll be doing next. I'll show you how I do that. Peace out, Stiletto.